Okay.
Hello. Welcome to this edition of What the Flicks. I'm Susan Ayers.
I'm Lon Chima.
Jorge Sanchez.
Patty Smith.
Okay, yes, you guys are. And so today our movies are Madre, the 2021. There's lots of them, but there's A Rainy Night in New York, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, and The Host. So we're going to begin with my choice, and it was Madre.
Ça fait combien de temps
que je suis là? 10 ans.
Mamá,
Iván, amor, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Dónde estáis hoy? ¿Qué vais a hacer?
en la playa.
Et comment ça se fait? Enfin, si je peux me permettre. Comment ça se fait qu'une Espagnole se retrouve ici pendant 10 ans?
¿Y tu padre?
Se ha ido. Ha dicho que ahora volvía.
¿Y en qué playa estáis?
En Francia, creo. ¿Por qué no viene papá? Mamá,
Sí, mi amor, sí, mi amor, sí.
que hay un señor.
Les enfants, vous en avez pas?
¿Qué hago?
¡Corre! Iván, corre. Mi amor, tú corres muy bien, lo vas a hacer muy bien, ¿vale? Tienes que correr todo lo rápido que puedas. ¿Me estás oyendo?
¿Por qué?
Y te escondes. ¡Corre! ¡Estás corriendo! ¿Qué pasa? Iván, dime algo, por favor. Iván, por favor, dime que estás bien. Cariño.
Vous êtes pas française? Espagnole?
Ouais.
Ah ouais? Vous savez que je parle espagnol? Yo me llamo Jean.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, Grégory.
Elena.
C'est lequel le vôtre?
Aucun.
Non? Vous aimez le foot de plage alors?
Pas spécialement.
¿Cuál es su dirección?
Comment?
Bah, vous savez où j'habite. Je vous ai vu, monsieur.
¿Has estado con él? No me mientas, por favor.
Pues te equivocas.
Sí, loca. Sortez d'ici!
C'est des malades!
¿Ah, sí? Me estoy equivocando. No se parece a Iván, ¿no? Elena, mírame. Elena, ¿qué piensas hacer?
And what a choice it was. Okay, so the director is Rodrigo Sorogoyen. The writers are Isabel Peña, Rodrigo Sorogoyen. It's a drama, mystery, thriller. Okay, so, and let me mention the cinematographer in this movie too, because I thought the cinematography was great. I mean, this miles of beach and the French coast is just gorgeous. And that's Alejandro de Pablo. Anyways, as I was saying earlier, I thought I was going to watch a movie about a mother still looking for her child. 10 years later, she got a phone call. The child is off with his father. And in fact, this was actually an Oscar-winning short. And the beginning of this movie is that Oscar-winning short.
As well as it should have been, and then stopped.
Do I hear comments from the peanut gallery? Anyways.
Peanut.
He was, so this years earlier, he was possibly kidnapped, murdered, but it's really is her on the phone call with him. And his father has gone back to get a toy from their cabin. It's an estranged father, so he has the child for like the weekend. And he took him to the beach in France. They are Spanish. Anyways, so we don't know what happens to the child, and we just come back 10 years later. The mother is now living in this part of France, on the same beach where the son was abducted, whatever happened to him. And she
sees the boy.
She's working as running this kind of bar on this beach, really gorgeous beach. Anyways, she sees these guys. They're kind of running by. They're always training there. They're surfers. And it would be about the same age that her son would be now. Okay. This is why, how much do I love the French? How much do I love the French? Because this is kind of has a, I thought it was going to go one way. I thought it was going to be, okay, she was now on the hunt to find out what happened to her son, and this kid is somehow connected, but that's not where it went. it went to this kind of, and I can't give it away a lot, but it's almost this most uncomfortable, Oedipal, incestual, although there's never any, that they don't
Physical
have
touching.
they don't have a physical relationship. It's like of this boy and her. And I'm like literally on the edge of my seat the whole time. I'm like, oh no, she's not going to do that, right? It's like I just couldn't believe where she was going. It was a really case study of obsession, grief, just and how we all act not in a rational way when we're in the throes of these emotions. So that's why I love the French. It's like, generally I'm not a big love story person, but they really get them. They get the weird ones. And so, yeah, I was literally, as if this was a thriller horror movie, I was on the edge of my seat seeing how far this woman was going to spin down. I was like, oh my God. And of course, he wasn't helping at all. So you would never see a movie like this in an American-made movie. So I'm not going to say anymore. I thought it was totally riveting, and I was entranced the whole time. I was like literally terrified the whole time of what was going to happen to this woman. Anyways, Lon.
Well, I have to admit, now that I knew the short, like you said, that the opening is a slap in the face. It literally grabs you. And it to me, her performance, I think, as this frantic mother on the phone, and her son, literally you hear him on the phone as well, saying how his battery's going dead. He doesn't know where his dad is. There's a man approaching. You hear the man say something like, "Are you okay?" I think he says something like "Qu'est-ce qu'il say?" or something like that in French, and then silence. It's when you get to 10 years later, and it's like, okay, because this movie, the intensity of the beginning of the movie, all of a sudden comes to a dead halt, and it comes to this sort of, like you said, almost a philosophical look at how this woman is going to behave. Now, the one thing I agree with you that the French do brilliantly more than anyone else is what we called at the video store I worked at, the mad woman syndrome. If you watch a lot of the movies women go slightly mad in them. And yet you understand why she has a problem. She has an emotional problem because you realize, once you find out she's at the same town where her boy disappeared, you think, you know what? She literally, when she told her mother, I'm just going to go there. The mother's saying, where are you going? You don't know where he is, right? That she ends up on that same beach. In fact, the most, like you said about the cinematographer, I really like is when they go up there and then they pan to the one, you see the rocks, then you pan and you see nothing but beach. And that's what the boy had described. So you know that's why she's exactly in that perimeter of that. She says, this is where it probably happened. Right. And I'm assuming because she probably did talk to the boy's father, her ex, about it as well. And then, like I said, it goes into odd territories. I won't fault the actress. I still thought she was good and I
thought that was an Oscar-winning performance. I thought she was wonderful.
But to me, it goes to a very strange kind of place with a woman having to deal, like you said, with all her emotions. But I was not satisfied with where it went and what she did.
You mean the end?
Actually, the end I didn't think was bad. It was getting to that.
No, I
because it's like almost everything seems almost unnecessary, except we know she's a little off, basically. Yes. Because there's a wonderful scene in a cafe where she meets her ex-husband, where they almost come to a closure, and that's a great, great scene. Yeah, but it didn't seem to be like, this isn't the kind of scene I wanted in this movie. Right. I either wanted that movie, literally the two of them talking and discussing whose fault it was, where they are in the relationships and this and that, or that intensity of finding the child.
I felt in that particular scene, I felt much more sympathy with the father. I thought
that's I said you don't like her. You realize, she's like really she's sort of withdrawn for life, so she can't deal with things, right? So
and just her behavior,
and also how that he went through it as well as she did, and he would feel worse because the child was with him. So and her reaction is, "It's your fault," kind of. So that's just
Yeah.
terrible. It makes
Oh,
you
yeah.
feel even way
I was like,
more
whoa,
horrible.
lady, that's
It's like,
really
yeah,
not
that's-
fair.
So,
Okay,
so it makes you like even less.
you know,
No, just in saying that, I sort of agree, but then I also thought, well, don't forget, he left his kid alone on the beach.
yeah, but he,
And a
Well,
6-year-old at that.
yeah, but he
a
just
6-year-old at
but
that.
he
Yeah.
just ran back to get a toy.
Yeah, but-
I mean, I can see that happening. It's like, just stay there and I'll go get that toy.
Well, you know,
right?
if you're living on the beach, yes. But when they do that pan, you don't see houses or
Yeah,
resorts.
you're
He had
right.
to go away.
You're right.
So,
Yeah,
yes.
not that far.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I said so no, he is responsible for the child missing, period.
But let's put it this
But-
way: he's responsible, but it's not like he did something.
Well, he also has all the emotions he has
Yes,
to deal with
yes.
because of
Right,
that. you know?
Yeah.
They don't focus on the father much.
No. That's why I said that one scene was
Yeah.
really fascinating.
No, it's all about her
I know.
and him and the boy. Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, for me, it's a psychological study of a person losing their marbles, and you know, in French movies also not just like maybe the women being nuts, but just the way that they act as society. Not that it's bad; it's just different. You know, so that a lot of Americans may not comprehend. You know, in a more European sense, the the opening scene, that's nerve-wracking. That you're like, oh my God, I can imagine that happening to anybody. That would be the worst. And I thought, what was I going with that? Oh yeah, you know, I enjoyed the movie, but it also was making me uncomfortable because I couldn't figure out if when she meets this young man who she assumes might be her son, her attraction to him is sometimes seems motherly, but sometimes I wonder if it's not really motherly, it's almost like she's actually attracted to him romantically.
Right.
It kind of it blurs those two
It
lines.
blurs.
So you never know if she's staring at him because she's in love with him or because she loves him as a son so much, motherly love. So I think they did that well too, where it kind of like every every scene you're like, and what's she gonna do? What are you gonna do? What's
Oh
gonna
God,
happen?
where's she going?
Yeah, where's she going with this? So, and then, there's, I don't know if it's be a spoiler, but the movie also kind of might resolve something for her where I'm gonna have to cut this if it's a spoiler, but like the movie Force Majeure. I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
No.
Where
You did.
That's the one with the avalanche and the guy
The
takes
avalanche.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right.
in the end of the movie,
good point.
she goes up again, and then she gets lost, and then you see him rescuing her, but she did it on purpose, so he
Right.
kind of has closure. In this one, I'm cutting this off. The boy gets lost, and he phones her just like when he was a little boy, and she stay where you are. I'm gonna come and rescue you.
Right.
And she does. So for her,
Makes
that's
closure, yeah.
Before they go into that, Anyway, so, but so yeah, it is. I enjoyed the movie. It was, but I was tense the whole time and a little. Sometimes I was like, "Wait, what's going on here?" But yeah, that's the one.
Well, you've all made very good points.
But
And here's my but. Okay. You're right. The first 10 minutes, the movie's set up so well. But good thing they cut it off there because she wouldn't have won an award after that. The cinematography, they had to show the cliff because that's where the kid said he was. I didn't find the cinematography special at all. But what really bothered me about the movie is if she was truly looking for her son, and it took so long for her to, they had all these unnecessary, what do you call it?
Scenes.
Scenes that, they could have snapped it up a bit, make it more intense.
Well,
And when she sees the child, who she thinks is her son, though she
No, I
doesn't
don't-
ask any questions about him. So all of a sudden I realized she is not interested in this kid as possibility. I think in her head she's telling herself that. It becomes sexualized. Not with them doing anything. It's the way she looks at him, the caresses, the meetings. The boy is totally in love. I mean,
He's a
this is-
16-year-old boy. I mean,
He's a
that's-
16-year-old boy, exactly. Because I was going to say,
He gotta get some.
He
Yeah.
initiated.
Yeah.
He's the one asking for her phone number,
Right.
asking
Yeah.
for her address. Yeah.
So it gets really off, and I like disturbing. I love disturbing movies, but this is disturbing where it didn't go anywhere. And so I'd say the first 10 minutes were good.
and thank God it didn't go anywhere.
Well, I was ready to puke at that point, but and the last 10 minutes because it closes it, but all in the middle, It was the most boring movie.
Well,
So that's why I agree with. I thought it was dull. that was the problem.
It
was
could have
dull.
been so suspenseful.
I think what it is slow. That's one of those movies that's really slow.
No, they're slow.
And a lot of those shots take a long time. I really love the cinematography myself and all the camera shots. But there's a couple of scenes where I go, that shot is a little too long now. Like some shots were like 2 minutes long.
You just wanted to push that guy over a little. It's like everything was drawn out, and there's good purpose for that in certain parts of a movie, but not in that movie.
See, to me, she was not. This is not why she was there. Was not to look for him. She was just drawn to the spot, and she was drawn. That's a way to be close. She wasn't really thinking about any of this. The boy, he looked like the boy might look like now, right? It wasn't like she went looking for him. She
was looking for him.
No, she wasn't.
Then why would she go back to the exact same spot?
She was being same. She was obsessed. She was drawn.
See, I see the obsession part, but where the obsession went was not believable, because if you think that's your son,
she didn't think it was her son.
See, I think that's why she was where she was.
Kind of sensed it more like
yeah. She would have asked questions. Who are your parents? Where did you get there? Were you adopted?
She didn't see him as her son. There was not that. She was just drawn to this place because it was the last place. I'm sure that.
Yeah.
And that moment in time, 10 years later, right? If she was looking for a son, she would have been looking longer 10 years for the 10 years. But she wasn't. She was just kind of drawn to the spot. She was acting on instinct. Totally.
I'm sure she was. I'm sure you would always go back to the spot.
Well, for her, it's not bad.
But after that, it was nothing to do with the kid.
The whole movie was nothing to do with the kid.
Yes. And I
sort of disagree there. I think the reason she is, like you said, at the spot was because of the child.
Right.
That she somehow thinks maybe he'll materialize in
right.
front of
I
me.
would say,
Absolutely.
I would say that would be
Which is
true.
what I thought the dull part was, because they didn't even introduce that element at all.
At all.
Yeah.
I would say that would be true if that was immediately after, but it wasn't. It was 10 years later, which she would have been looking longer
if you're
for
in
now.
obsession,
she's
there's
been
no
there
time.
for 10 years.
Yeah, that's
what I said.
That's what
If
I
you're
said.
in
That's what I'm
obsession,
saying. But
there's
she's
no
been there for
time.
10 years. So my thing is, she has no life there. It's a resort or vacation town
Well,
where
right.
people
But
come in.
she
right?
does now. She's lived there for 10 years. She has a life there.
But then
Well, she sort of does, because she has a boyfriend now.
Yes.
That he's trying to help her. In fact, he's the one who points out, "Oh, are you calling him again?" The 16-year-old
Yeah.
boy. He knows there's a problem with
Yes.
her.
Right.
The boy's family knows there's a problem with her.
Definitely knows.
And that's where the awkwardness came in, where, like I said, it's like, well, I wish they got to that a lot quicker, because you're right. Because the thing is, I agree with you that she is not looking, she does not see her son in the boy. She just sees a 16-year-old thinking, oh, if my boy was here today, that's how old he'll be. That's all I think.
But would
she
I
sees
act
about.
like that with him? No.
Well, this is the funny part, because for the most part, when there's a sequence also where she goes off with these 3 young kids that she meets in a nightclub, right? They're drinking, they're having fun.
Right.
And then again, she sort of has a little episode.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. You can see that she's having
that's
psychological problems. That she
yeah.
really has problems dealing with everything.
Well, that broke her down. So that made her mad, that incident with her boy. So then she's gone. Now she's just
See,
damaged.
if she had had a decent breakdown like you can in movies,
like in a
I
Pedro
would have
Almodovar
really
film.
liked that.
Okay, so
But one last point. The movie won 17 Goya nominations. I mean, nominations. It won Best Film, Best Actress for her, and Best Director. And also won Best Act. She won Best Actress for Medallas del Círculo de Escritores, and also from Edición de los Premios Sant Jordi. So she might be nominated for an Oscar, probably.
Yeah.
well, she was excellent.
Yeah, I
She
did
was
think
excellent.
she was good, because, again, as dull as I found it, I thought, I don't know what she's going to do. That's how unhinged I thought her character was.
Yes.
See, I wish she'd been more unhinged, so it was too blah unhinged.
Well, yeah, it's a very silent internal kind
Yes.
of problem she's having.
Yes.
But that's what I said. That's why I thought she was good. She really conveyed that.
I didn't think she was that good, except for the first 10 minutes. And then I was totally impressed. And then it went,
Well, that's the problem I have when you have something that good. And
Yes,
then it comes,
and
it just hits you in the face.
you
and all of
gotta
a sudden,
keep it
boom.
up.
That's what I was hoping they would do, but they
Yes,
did
but
not.
I think for me that was like the you know how long it took to get to remember that long pan shot they have after that whole incident on the phone. There's this huge long pan shot that you're like, what is going on here? It's like the people are walking on a beach. It's far away.
Right.
And it takes forever to go down to
Yeah.
anybody. So it's already telling you.
It's going to be slow.
Yes. It's already
I'll
telling
remember
you
that in my next movies.
Yeah, it's going to be complicated.
Watch for the slowness.
Also, as a person who loves French movies, I thought that the pacing is different. And I think that, you like the more outward action, like outward nuts.
No, not always.
But
I
she
like
was-
something paced for a reason.
But she's internally nuts.
Yes.
And I don't mean she's nuts. I personally don't think she's nuts. I personally think she is acting out. Like we all have things where we act out. We don't that's when you go back and you go, what was I thinking? What was I doing? I know I have.
But usually you
Right?
can answer it.
No,
you call it
I never know. It
time.
seems
But
like the most natural.
Would you call it a French movie or a Spanish movie?
I would call Spanish movie to me is more extroverted. It's like Italian, like they're out there. They're out there nuts, right? Where she is very quiet in her nutsness. Although her quietness creates all this shit around her, right? You know what I mean? But yeah, it's really intense. I really liked it. Let's move
Score
on.
it.
So, we got to score it.
Okay, I give it a 10, even though it was probably one of the most uncomfortable movies I've ever watched.
I give it a 6.
Yeah, I'll give it a 9.
I gave it a 1.
Okay, there you go. So,
Okay, we'll move on.
we'll be back. We'll be back.